Have you ever watched a movie that put a hand into your chest, grabbed your heart, and threatened to rip it out? Well, let me tell you about a movie called Apostasy. Here is the official description. A faithful Jehovah's Witness is forced to shun her own sister because of a religious transgression. As the separation draws out, she starts to question the meaning of God's love. The reason this movie hit home for me was because I used to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And of all the representations of Jehovah's Witnesses that I've seen on the small screen or the big screen, this is the most accurate representation that I have ever seen. Now, the reason for this accuracy is because the director, whose name is Daniel Coco Taljo, he's the writer and director, is himself a former Jehovah's Witness. Now, while it might not mean too much to the average viewer, the accuracy is really, really important. And the reason for that is that what often happens when Jehovah's Witnesses are shown in TV and movies, if there are any inaccuracies in what's portrayed on screen, then the witnesses often say things like, oh, it's all fake news and propaganda designed to make us look bad, and things like that. But this movie nails what it's like to be a Jehovah's Witness. And if people are being honest, they'd have to say that apart from a few small things, this very accurately represents what it's like to live the life of a Jehovah's Witness. So the realism in this movie comes from the fact that they use all of the right terms. They capture that inner monologue that goes on in your day-to-day activities. There's that feeling of inadequacy as you compare yourself to others. In fact, right down to even the cadence of the public talk that's given, or public talks that are given in a couple of spots in the movie, right down to even little things like how when somebody asks you a question that you can't answer, your first reaction is to go to a Watchtower publication to find that answer. There's little details and things like that all the way through that really hit the nail on the head as to what life as a Jehovah's Witness is like. They really show what a suppressed and stagnant life it can be. While you're living this life, you're busy telling everybody else about how you're living your best life and how wonderful it is, when often the reality is that you have that darkness, grayness inside you, I guess you could say, of just going through the motions and living the life under tight scrutiny from everyone that's around you. If you have friends or family who are Jehovah's Witnesses, then this movie will give you a very good insight into what that life is like. From a technical aspect, I really liked a number of different things about this movie. For a start, there's hardly any music in it, which I thought was really good. The result of that is that there's a real subdued tone to the whole movie. The actors have to act in the movie, and it really benefits a lot from this. They also make really good use of close-ups. The camera on a lot of occasions is literally half filled with somebody's face as they're reacting or inner monologuing or praying to themselves. And it really adds to a claustrophobic feeling of the film overall. But in the same vein, it also adds to exactly how claustrophobic it can feel living that life of a witness where you are constantly watched and judged by others, where you're constantly on the lookout to make sure that your activities and the things that you do and watch and say don't stumble others. So it's all quite suffocating, and the movie very, very accurately portrays this and puts that across. The end result of all of that is that this is a pretty devastating critique of Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's told through the eyes of three family members, three ladies from the same family, a mother and two daughters. And what's really good is it shows how their faith and their beliefs impact each of their decisions as they go through. All three of them take different paths, reacting to a certain crisis that happens. And the movie shows really, really well exactly how their faith-based choices have an effect on them and on those around them. So that's a really good aspect of the film. Now, this is deliberately very slow-paced, and the three leading ladies in it are absolutely brilliant, and they bring that bring a gravitas to the role, and they communicate very, very well, often in an unspoken way, the struggle that they're going through, or that their characters are going through, which reflects a lot of what happens in real life as well. This movie is very much a show, don't tell kind of movie, and I think it benefits a lot from that. It's a really good approach to filmmaking, I think, where it treats the audience with a little bit of respect, and that it recognizes that you're smart enough to work out what's going on without being told outright or being hit over the head with what it is that is unfolding on screen before you. So the end result of all this is that this comes out being a very accessible movie, both to current Jehovah's Witnesses, to non-Jehovah's Witnesses, and also I expect this will appeal a lot to ex-Jehovah's Witnesses as well. It's a really good movie. It was pretty hard to watch in places as somebody who's only 5 or so years out of the church. A lot of it hit home to me. So in summary, I would say that this movie, while it is a downer, it is done in such a very, very good way that makes it very watchable and certainly worth checking out.
What's the problem?
She likes to voice her own opinions too much.
Do you know how it feels to think Jehovah is punishing you all the time? Do you think it's right how they make you treat me?
You might beg Jehovah, why do this to me and my family? Jesus stated that his work could cause conflict in the household.
Mom! Oh my